We have PlayStation financials to talk about. FIFA 23 will be EA's last official FIFA game. Xbox talks about the outage issue and that they are rolling out a new update. And Gotham Knights show off an amazing gameplay trailer. Give us a release date and tell us that it won't be on certain consoles. So Sony released their fiscal year 2021 financial results, and we got the big picture now as to how well the PlayStation 5 is doing. We know so far with sales in 2022, they have been behind the Xbox Series X and S, the Xbox Series X and S being the second best-selling console behind the Nintendo Switch, but ahead of the PlayStation 5. A lot of this has to do with the supply and demand, the supply just not being able to meet the demand of the customers for pretty much every console, the Xbox and the PlayStation especially. But when it comes to the PS5, from these financial results, we learned that they have so far in total shipped 19.3 million PS5s. And this puts the total amount of PS5 shipped in 2022 to about 2 million units, which is down from the same quarter a year ago where they had shipped 3.3 million units. And in general, the PS5 is behind the PS4. For reference, it says here the PlayStation 4 had shipped 2.3 million units in the same quarter for a lifetime total of 22.4 million units shipped as of March 31st, 2015, back when the PS4 was the main console. So the PS5 right now is behind the PS4 by 3.1 million units. Now in total in 2021, PlayStation shipped 11.5 million PS5 units, and their initial target before fiscal year 2021 began was 14.8 million units, meaning they missed it by over 3 million. And I mean, that's a big number of units to miss it by. They were hoping to be ahead of where they were for the PlayStation 4. I'm assuming that's why they had put that initial target of 14.8. So they were at least in the same ballpark as the PS4. I mean, they're not that far behind, about only 3-4 million units behind the PS4 in the same time span. But obviously, a lot that is holding them back is not being able to meet the demand for the consumers. Now, even with everything that is going on with the chip shortage and not being able to get as many consoles out there, Sony is very confident that they're going to be able to sell their target of 18 million units PlayStation 5s by the end of fiscal year 2022. Now, sales of the PS5 wasn't the only thing they didn't reach their targets for. They actually lost users from PlayStation Plus. So as of March 2022, there are 47.4 million users that are subscribed to PlayStation Plus, which is down from 47.6 million units during the same period of the previous fiscal year. And the monthly active users were also down to 106 million compared to 109 million in fiscal year 2020. Now, it's not all bad news in terms of things being down or not reaching the targets. They actually did very well for their PS5 and PS4 first-party game sales, as they were up a massive 84% during Q4, jumping from 7.9 million units last year to 14.5 million units in fiscal year 2021. And the ratio of downloaded software fell from 79% to 71%, but it was up 1% overall for the entire fiscal year. And sales up 3% for the year to 83.5 billion yen, which Sony is crediting partly to the impact of the foreign exchange rates and an increase in hardware sales. Now, when it comes to the PlayStation Plus subscriber thing, I mean, this I think would be slightly concerning for Sony, seeing that number go down. That's not something you ever want to see go down. You always want it to see going up, even if it's just by a little bit, especially because of the generation we're in, where the subscription is huge for making money with Game Pass, with the new PlayStation Plus tiers coming out. They want to see that number continuously go up, but Sony apparently is not concerned at all about the recent PlayStation Plus subscribers. In fact, the CFO, Hikori Totoki, had this to say: "Let me give you the overall trend. The total gameplay time is so important. Year on year, there has been a decline, but the stay-at-home demand was not so strong between January to February in 2021 compared to the previous year," assuming he's referencing the pandemic, where you had to stay at home and you really didn't have anything else to do. So a lot of people would have jumped onto PlayStation and subscribed and seen what was available within their catalog. Continues on here to say that's a decrease by 8% compared to January and February in 2022. Compared to an end of March in 2020, there's a decrease of 5.1 million users. The stay-at-home demand was a temporary factor, but after it subsided, it seems to me that the high levels of engagement have been maintained. So on a midterm basis, I don't see much concern on PlayStation Plus. I am sure that the high level of engagement will continue. That's the positive take that I have. And then finally, he says here, we will start the renewal of PlayStation Plus from June onwards in a staged manner, and we would like to stably grow and be supported by users. I would like you to have great expectations for this together with me. So Sony doesn't seem concerned at all. They would rather have a user base that is more engaged and spending time and money on the PlayStation Network rather than just a bloated user base where people could be subscribed but aren't really engaged with the overall network and not playing as many games, spending more money on top of their subscription fee. And they think that they're going to really be able to utilize the PlayStation Plus revamp to get more users, to get more engagement within their network. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with the PlayStation Plus rebrand. I mean, it's next month. They're starting off in June. We've seen people trying to stack their subscriptions before they stopped it, so they get their PlayStation Now turning in to the PlayStation Plus premium tier. I will be very interested to see how many of the current PlayStation Plus subscribers, the people that are paying, I think it's like $5 or $10 a month, how many of those people are going to upgrade to pay that higher price for the premium tier or even the tier below that? They're probably going to want to check it out. They're probably going to want to see which games are available. They haven't really given us a huge breakdown of what games are available, especially with the backwards compatibility stuff. And I mean, unless they have a show between now and when it launches, that may be something people just find out when the actual service launches and you subscribe and you see which backwards compatible games are going to be there for you to play. But I think next year, it'll be very important for them to see these numbers grow and to see a positive gain in the overall subscription numbers and the overall users, because they are releasing a brand new subscription model, and they'll have to prove that it is something that the consumers want. Now, besides all of those numbers, there was this interesting thing that came out of these financial reports, and it has to do with Sony talking about their first-party games and what they want to do for investments, as well as moving forward with making them more multi-platform. So it says here, Sony is investing a further $300 million into its first-party PlayStation studios as a two-pronged strategy to grow its gaming business alongside releasing games on multiple platforms. So Sony, within their earning call, said, we plan to increase software development expenses aimed at strengthening first-party software at our existing studios by approximately $308 million. And going forward, we aim to grow the game business by strengthening our first-party software and deploying that software on multiple platforms. So this will be surprising for some people to hear, but it isn't surprising whatsoever if you've been following what Sony has been doing. They have been, over the last year or so, over the last couple of years, realizing that they have to slowly transition away from what they've been doing for their entire life, which is utilizing console exclusives to get people to play their platform and to make money by getting more people to purchase their consoles and be stuck within that platform. They are seeing now, especially with the release of their games onto PC, that there is much more money to be made if you make games multi-platform, because you have access to so many more users, and their games on PC have been very, very successful. So when they say they're wanting to bring more games and more of their first-party software to multiple platforms, I'm assuming they're meaning they're going to be bringing many more games over to PC. But what could this mean? Could this mean that their first-party games, their brand new ones, are also going to be releasing at some point on PC day and date? Or are they going to just be bringing over a bunch of their older titles? Or are they going to reduce the amount of time it takes from releasing the game on their console and then releasing it on PC? I can see all of those things occurring, but it's definitely something Sony is moving towards, and I think this is just better for gamers overall. All right, moving over here to EA Sports and their FIFA game. It's pretty much been the main soccer game, football game, whatever you want to call it, for a very, very long time. Always been branded with the FIFA name, always having the best licenses for the sport within the game compared to when you look at Konami with the game that they made. They always had less licenses in eFootball and that type of stuff. And it looks like EA has officially announced now that they are going to be moving away from the FIFA partnership for naming its game after 2023. So it says here, EA announced that the next FIFA game will be the last, with the franchise continuing under a new brand, EA Sports FC. And the last FIFA game, like I said, will be FIFA 23, which will be coming out this year. Now, that brings in a lot of questions. What does this mean for the future of EA soccer games? Does it mean that they're not going to have the same licenses? They're not going to have all of the branding that they've had currently within the game? Because it's been 30 years or so that this game has been named FIFA, and it's going to be a huge change for a lot of people who have been playing this franchise for a very long time. But the good news is, from this announcement, they say here that EA is retaining its countless partnerships and licensing deals. EA Sports FC titles will still possess a library of over 19,000 players, 700 teams, 100 stadiums, and 30 leagues. So you're still going to get access to the majority of the licenses that you already had. That's still a large amount of licenses. The 700 teams is huge. I mean, we've even seen things recently where they had to get rid of Juventus from the game. And I mean, that's always the biggest draw for a lot of these simulation sports games, is just the real life representation of what you see on the field, what you see in real life from the teams, the colors, the stadiums, all that type of stuff. And when this first got announced, when they hinted that they were moving away from the FIFA license, I thought that they were going to lose a lot of the teams and players and everything like that, but it looks like that isn't the case. So if you're a FIFA player, it's just going to be pretty much a name change. The hope is that if they're paying less for that FIFA partnership, they're going to be able to put more money into the game and make it even better and improve on it, and not make it just a roster update every single year. But as we know, it's EA, it's video games. They're probably just going to try to increase their profit margin, and the game will still be the exact same. All right, I want to move over and talk about this. There was the Gotham Knights trailer that came out yesterday, 14 minutes long, of Nightwing and Red Hood gameplay, and man, this game looks absolutely amazing. I can't not wait to play this game. It really just looks like the evolution of the Arkham games, the Batman games, but with more DC characters. The combat looks really, really good. The graphics look absolutely amazing. The traversal looks like a ton of fun, and we're only seeing 2 of the characters within this gameplay trailer. So it was a nice treat when they released this video to be able to check it out. But with this announcement, with this trailer, they announced something big for somebody who's still playing on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, as well as just for the overall release of the game. They say here, Gotham Knights is scheduled to launch worldwide on October 25th, 2022. And they say here, please note, to provide players with the best possible gameplay experience, the game will release on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, and will not be available on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One console. So for a lot of people, they're more than happy to see this, because they don't want games to be dragged down by the PS4 and the Xbox One. And when they are third-party games like this, where they don't have the luxury that Xbox is providing with Xbox Cloud Gaming, where even if you still have only an Xbox One, you can play the next great title from Xbox Game Studios by streaming it to your console. The only way you're going to be able to play this game is by downloading it natively on the console. Having to develop the game like this, that looks huge, massive, graphically looks very stunning, it would be very, very hard to make it work properly if you had to also do it on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One. I mean, we look what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, and the big issue with that game was they had to develop it for the PS4 and Xbox One and hold up that promise that the game would be available on it. So I think this overall for the game itself is a great thing. I think we're going to get an even better and more stunning game when it eventually comes out, because they only have to focus on the most powerful hardware out there in terms of consoles. And if that wasn't enough, if you're a fan of DC, you're a fan of what this game is going to be all about, they also showed off this really, really cool collector's edition, which is going to include the deluxe edition of the game and content, Gotham Knights exclusive New Guard statue inspired by Jim Lee, Prometheum New Guard Transmogs, Jim Lee certificate of authenticity, augmented reality talent key, and a Gotham City of Bridges collectible map. Now this is coming soon. It's not yet available. Haven't seen it anywhere for pre-order, but keep your eyes open for this if you want to get your hands on what I think looks like a really, really cool statue. Hopefully it's good quality. Hopefully it's not just really, really cheap plastic. Some of them are kind of a waste of money once you open it up and you see how light and cheap it is, but there have been collector's editions that have come with some nice, heavy, well-made statues, and I hope this is one of them. Finally, let's end off on this. As we know, over the past weekend, there were some big issues with Xbox, with the outage issues, that people weren't able to log in, access Game Pass, access their offline games that they had paid for, even ones that didn't require any multiplayer to play them, which that I think is the biggest issue out of all of this. That's something that definitely needs to be fixed going forward. Now, this outage issue didn't affect everybody. I didn't get affected by it. On the video I made talking about it, I saw a lot of the comments and a lot of people had no issues, but then you came on social media and tons of people were talking about their experiences with the Xbox outage. And Xbox support has addressed this with a new update, or looking to address it, and they said this: "We've seen significant improvement to the issue that has prevented some users from purchasing and launching games. We expect full mitigation in the coming days with the rollout of a new update." So we don't know what exactly this means, what this update is going to do, and if it means going forward they're gonna look into solving, or maybe they have solved the issue already about the offline stuff and not being able to access your games. But definitely something that Xbox needs to look into, and whether this means reducing the check-in time so that you check in more often, so that there is an outage, you're still going to be able to access those games that you've purchased and they've connected to the server or whatever, and verify that you own them and you haven't pirated them, or just come up with some sort of solution with the licensing. It's a big thing because we look at what's going on. Xbox, they allow you to play games on multiple consoles within your home, so you only have to buy one license and then you get to share it around. And that was the major issue that people were saying, is that if you didn't have your home console selected, you wouldn't be able to access the games, and people who did have their home console selected were able to. Although I did see some people out there, such as in the video I talked about, where even people who had selected their home console weren't able to access the games. But this is all stuff that Xbox needs to work out, and something that people should want to see them improve on, because if something happens where the servers go down for days and weeks, it's going to be really bad when people aren't able to access their games that they have paid for. That's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the PlayStation Financials Gotham Knights. Are you going to look to pre-order that special collector's edition? And what did you think about the game overall? What are your thoughts on EA getting rid of the FIFA license and the Xbox issue? What are you expecting to see in the future for them trying to fix this? If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support. I'll catch you in the next video.